Every child is afraid of the dark, the unknown, the nightmare. In Gatlin, Nebraska, that nightmare is in the corn. Stephen King's Children of the Corn.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Ciao.
This week, we're discussing the horror classic Children of the Corn, starring a very young Peter Horton and a very young Linda Hamilton, and Malachi and Isaac are running around doing their thing.
Malachi. Is Malachi the dude from You'll Shoot Your Eye Out grown up?
No.
I just am frightened by redheads with long stringy hair, I guess.
He actually was in quite a few. His name's Courtney Gaines, and he was in a handful of things, including Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah,
you ever saw that with Patrick Dempsey?
No.
So
maybe I did.
That's neither here nor there. Each week on the podcast, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's up with you? What's the latest?
Dude, I got too much on my plate, so I'll be spending this lovely weekend in front of a freaking computer doing the stuff I apparently didn't do in the last 2 weeks. So a lot of emailing, a lot of nonsense.
Because school's back.
Right. I was school's back, and I was very calm and non-stressed the whole time. I was like, I knew there was something wrong, and then I came home. I was like, oh shit, I should have done this. I should have done this. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So I'll be on the computer at home. So that'll be nice.
I mean, and that's the thing. As a teacher, your job is never done. You could stay till midnight every night and not be finished.
I was staying until 6 o'clock, and we get out at 3:30, and it made no difference. It made no goddamn difference.
It's a sad situation. Now, totally different topic. You and I are in a book club, and it was my turn to pick the book. So I chose Quentin Tarantino's Cinema Speculation.
Right.
And you actually were the first one to finish the book. What are your thoughts thus far?
It reminded me of back in the day, Danse Macabre by Stephen King, where he just rambles through things that were important in the history of this and that and that. I mean, I thought it was interesting. I don't necessarily. It's kind of like autobiographical. Mm-hmm. It's not really a history of cinema. It's more of his history of cinema.
Right.
You know, what turned him on when he was a kid, and a glimpse behind his upbringing and all that.
Which is interesting. I just wonder, I'm not done with it yet, but
I'm glad he didn't read the audiobook, by the way. That would have been I would have killed myself.
Well, what's funny is as I'm reading it, I realize it's like we do ostensibly a movie review show, but I'd never call myself a film critic. You know what I mean? I just feel like, and this has been a bone of contention sometimes. Our show is we're like having fun. We're poking fun.
We're poking fun. Sometimes we're angry that our time has been wasted.
Correct.
I wouldn't say it's film criticism. I would say we're movie reviewers. We're horror movie reviewers.
I would say
I wouldn't throw around the word cinema.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I've been on other podcasts where they're like, we're getting together, the other, film critics on podcasts. And I'm just like, not a film critic.
Technically, we are film critics.
But I'm not talking about mise en scène and the cinematography and the beautiful music cues that leads into the lighting and blah, blah. I don't talk about it.
No. I think we're just more straightforward. We're not going into these weird nuances. I mean, you read so many reviews from famous reviewers where you're like, I don't know what the they're saying.
Right.
It is jib jab. Did you like it? Did you not like it? we're just more down-home folksy movie reviewers. We're
We're
going to tell you
down-home
what we
folksy.
liked, what we didn't like, if we thought it
Absolutely.
was good, if we thought it was bad. I think that technically means we are reviewing
I
a
guess
movie.
in the broadest possible definition. But I also am like,
And we don't throw around the word auteur.
I do sometimes, ironically. But I think what it comes down to is also the most fun episodes are often when it's the worst movie.
True, because
You
then
know?
you have something to talk about.
Right.
Either they are so magnificent we're in awe, but the problem comes, and if it's terrible, that's great.
Right.
The problem was if we're really ambivalent, then we don't have much to say. You're just like, well,
Right.
it was a linear story, so I understood what happened, but I didn't really care.
Our
Those
goal
are
is
the
to
worst
entertain.
review.
Right.
Yes.
This is about being entertaining.
Exactly.
And acknowledging that there are people in the world who like Rob Zombie. Okay?
I'm
Not our cup of tea.
Not going to acknowledge that.
I've said
I'm
it
not going
before.
to acknowledge that.
I've said it before. No offense, those people who love Rob Zombie, but I always say if somebody goes, hey, the only true Halloween is Rob Zombie's Halloween, that kind of tells me something about that person. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying what it tells me.
If you're finished death metal, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a right to exist in the world.
Correct. This is America. This isn't Russia, is it? Is this Russia? Anywho, that being said, Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis of Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn. A couple on the verge of a breakdown run over a kid. How about that?
As one does.
And feel the need to tell someone, which is probably a good idea. And they meet some hobo Joe who tries to tell them where to go. And they get lost, and they ended up in the village of the damned, where the crazy babies capture them to make a sacrifice. There is some kind of rebellion against the prophet, and it all wraps up.
It all wraps up.
Our leads don't die. Who gives a shit?
Now, we've both obviously seen this movie 1,000 times. Do you have any recollection when the last time when you saw it the first time, I should say?
I have not. This will be the second time I've seen
Oh,
it.
really?
Because I didn't like it. I didn't like it because I was a Stephen King purist.
Yes.
And I thought it was trash. I really thought it was trash, so I never watched it again. But this time I decided, okay, after I watched it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to the book.
Okay.
And I am going to then compare it. And really, it's pretty close to the story. It's just stretched out.
Right.
And you can't make a movie from the book. It's
No,
a perfect
like
short story. Man. It's a perfect short. I mean, actually, you said it was 4 pages, but really the audio was like an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, so, that's a good size. I mean, it's not nothing.
Right. But it's a short story because it's a short story. It's like the same short story in the book. The collection was the one about like a return to Salem's Lot. You can't make a movie about that. It's just like a little snippet. So that being said, this has a potential to be remade to make it less goofy.
It's been remade multiple times, by the way, and it has 15 sequels.
How about a reimagining then? So it's actually interesting and good. I mean, really, it's like the Children of the Damned, but instead of extraterrestrials, it's some demon in the cornfield.
Who's real?
Who's
real? This isn't a false prophet sort of situation. Right. There's something in who walks behind the rose.
One who walks behind the rose. Right. I mean, that's a creepy idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And corn is weird. I wanted to shoot pictures in a cornfield for like Polaroid or a Holga week in the fall. So I was out.
Okay.
It was a pumpkin patch and a cornfield. And it sucks. You get lost in there. And
Absolutely.
corn is hardy. It's not like, well, I'm just gonna break through the rows and get out there. No. Besides the fact it was hot, there were lots of flies,
Right.
and the
Bugs in
corn had the
there.
weird corn fungus on it, the gray fungus. It's supposed to be a delicacy, but I
Oh,
didn't want it to
God.
touch me.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. So I was like, shit. I think at one point we gave up because we ended in the center, and then like what? Now what do we do?
Now what?
So now we like looked above for things, and we were able to finally just cheat and dig ourselves through. I'm like, this is too much.
Well, it's just tall enough too that you can't see over it.
Right.
So you're stuck. It's a bad situation. Now, we're both teachers.
Yes.
And I think I can safely say we've all referred to our students at one time or another as the children of the corn.
Children
Am I
of
right?
the damned, children of the corn. Yes.
Absolutely. No question. No question. It's just the way it works.
Yeah. Everybody has a Malachi.
Oh, yes. If
I
you're
think I
lucky,
had
you only have
an
one.
Isaac or two. Yeah. The Malachi's all joined together in your classroom.
There are multiple Malachis. Oh, but that's the thing. It's like the name Malachi, in my mind, has carried far further than this movie. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'm telling you, they're naming their children after Children of the Corn. They're like, oh, just like after The Omen. I have had so many Damians and Malachis.
You've never had a Malachi in your class.
I have. When I was teaching little kids, I had a Malachi.
I definitely had my fair
You're
share
like
of Damians.
parents.
Yeah. That is the craziest shit. You're naming you know what you're doing. You name your kid Damien.
Yeah.
He's the Omen, for God's sakes. What are you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. And also in reverse, angels never are.
That's true.
If you name your
100%.
child Angel, you might as well have just called him Damien. Angels are never chill.
Oh, sweet Jesus. No, growing up, I don't remember when I saw this, but I remember it being a big movie. Like, and in my mind, this was right up there at the time. I considered it like, with Carrie and it was every movie that Stephen King did.
Gold.
It was gold. And then I didn't realize until much, much later, this is literally a short story from a small, from a short story collection. Right?
Is the collection called Night Shift? That's
the Night Shift.
The Night Shift. Everybody read Night Shift, because
Night Shift's the good one. Yeah.
Night Shift is the great collection of just creepy things that should not have been made into movies, like Lawnmower Man. If you just read it as a short story, it's entertaining. If you try to put it on screen, it's a freak show. Some things are just meant to be read.
Right. And Night Shift is good because they're short stories that are short. You get into some of the other ones, it's like, 150-page short story or something like this. These are like little kind of morsels.
We call that a novella.
Right. Right. So you get a little, and the cool thing about Night Shift also is that they all deal with kind of different things. Like it's kind of a scattered, so that's kind of interesting as well. So.
And it's Stephen King, and this is before Richard Bachman and Green Mile nonsense. So it's all going to be little creepy stories.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. Shall we jump right in then, Aaron?
Bro, let's go. Did you see it was Hal Roach Studios?
I did see that.
I was like, Hal Roach did The Little Rascals.
The Little Rascals.
These were not Little Rascals. And it seemed like a normal town, but why are they all named and dressed like they're Amish?
Okay, well, this is a thing. From what I can gather, this is important. They were a normal kind of God-fearing corn town in Nebraska. And
why did it have to be Nebraska when they filmed it in Iowa? Couldn't it have been the same as in Iowa? Or Nebraska is particularly freaky?
Maybe. Who's to say? And then Isaac comes to town, who is like, and I'm taking this from the book as well. Like, he was like a revivalist kind of preacher kid, something like that. And
he's the one. Have family?
I
Or
don't know
just
what the
a
story is.
child rolled in off the Greyhound bus.
He just he did. He was hitchhiking, and he basically kind of converts all the children in town into this religion where they worship he who walks behind the rose, who's some kind of demon thing, and he encourages them to murder all the adults in town except for Crazy Hobo Joe, the mechanic, evidently.
Because literally, you do need an adult. And quite frankly, how could this happen? Isn't there
It
a
couldn't.
sheriff? No one's going to notice that the whole town disappeared.
Well, there was a sheriff, the Blue Man. Remember
Does
the Blue
anyone
Man?
notice the sheriff disappeared?
Well, that's the question. This is not initially. It's not some. I mean, it's fairly remote in the sense that it's a small town in Nebraska, but it's
Right.
not like on the other side of the moon or something. You know, you think there
Right.
would be the mailman should arrive every now and again, right? Delivering, right? There should be questions.
Exactly.
Cousins
And
out of town.
how is it not on the map? Because
That makes absolutely no sense. I wrote
Yeah.
that down. Gatlin is the name of the town, but suddenly Thomas Guide is like, I guess we're not putting it on the map anymore.
not
Why?
no mo. Not no mo.
Not
I
no
mean-
mo.
I mean, it's not Dick Cheney. He's not on the map. How do the kids put this together?
Right. They call the map makers and say, by the way, we don't exist anymore. Is that a thing?
You want to just draw a line through that?
Just
And you
scribble.
have to go to the town. You have to go to the town.
It's
Once
set
you're
up.
on that road, it is like a corn maze. Every direction eventually puts you back.
Well, I think what happens, and this doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. They accidentally. Well, Malachi murders the boy who's trying to escape. They
Right.
push him in the street, or he runs into the street, something along
Right.
those lines. He gets hit by the car, and Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton pick him up and are going to go. He's dead, but report it to the authorities. So I guess at that point, the children of the corn are like, we can't let them escape. So
Right.
then they changed all the signs to make it impossible.
They had a bunch of 6-year-olds run out there and change all the signs around. The signs
Change all
had
the
to have already
signs.
been there.
So when they're trying to
In
drive
3 minutes,
to
they did that.
correct. Well, and that's the thing. Is it always that way? Do they want unsuspecting randos to
For
drive into town?
sacrifices. But that would mean everybody on that road is going to end up there.
Yeah. I don't know.
What
None
kind
of it
of
makes any sense.
state highway does no one travel on?
I don't know. But even Hobo Joe is like, hey, you don't want to go to Gatlin. You want to go down to whatever the hell the other Leatherwood or whatever the other town was. I don't remember.
Right. That's
Go
that's
there
19
instead.
miles away instead of 3 miles away.
Correct. But by car, it's, like they even said, we'll be there in 20 minutes. Not a big deal. But I guess they all the evil children of the corn changed all the signs so that they have to drive in. That part makes absolutely no sense. So
I would have
what
turned
the hell?
around and gone back to where I was.
Absolutely. Well, I guess they were lost, right? They're like, where's the map? I can't see. They're looking at the map as they're running over people in the street. I don't know.
Having one of their fights.
That was kind of an interesting thing, their relationship. So I think in the book they're married, but are
In the
having
book,
marital
they're
issues.
married, yeah, but they're on the edge of divorce.
In this couple, they're not married. And they don't really tell us, but you get the sense she wants to be married. And he's like, I don't know, hon. But they only kind of barely touch on it. Because if she makes some kind of comment, is that a proposal? He's like, no, not a proposal. And he like rolls over.
Yeah.
leave me alone. Ladies love that when you're like, I'm absolutely not proposing to you.
That's
Newsflash.
You're delusional.
Guess
But
again.
ladies loved Peter Horton back in the day.
This is before 30 something, which was a popular show, kind of a big chill kind of thing,
Yeah.
where it's like former hippies are now like, man, I'm in my 30s. This sucks. That's basically what it was. So
I'm
he was-
married and he kind of sucks, and it's a bunch of 30-year-olds whinging about their
Right,
present lives.
100%.
Call it
What-
sucks.
I have a job and a house and wife and kids. What the hell?
And then
Why
Peter
can't I-
Horton was the one who was still living his free single life and couldn't be
Correct.
nailed down.
And we've seen Peter Horton in real life.
Yes, I saw
Yes.
him. He lives in where our parents live, so I saw him. He's a surfer, so I saw him with his board and his wetsuit walking back to his house, and he said
Right.
hi. In the small town, everybody says hi, but after I said hi to him, I've never seen him again.
No, he's running for the hills. But it's one of those things where it's just like I couldn't tell you the name of his character or anything.
I didn't watch 30 something.
I didn't want. I was 10. I'm not watching 30 something.
I didn't watch
And then
Party
Linda
of
Hamilton.
Five, I didn't watch 30 something. There were all those freaking shows in the 90s.
Yeah. This is the 80s.
Was it 80s?
Yes, 30 something was in the 80s.
Oh, Lord.
Oh yeah, very popular. Timothy Busfield was in it.
Oh, it was
You ever-
All-Star.
Oh, he's talking about Timothy Busfield. Timothy Busfield played Poindexter in Revenge of the Nerds. He was the redheaded guy who played the violin.
Yes, yes.
But on 30 something, they anyway, and 30 something they gave him like kind of an 80s haircut and a beard. So he's like, I'm an adult now. I'm not weird Poindexter anymore. So there
right.
you go.
Once men grow a beard, that means they're an adult.
That means they're an adult. Exactly. Linda Hamilton. I believe this is before Terminator.
She
they were
looked really
both
young, and
Yes.
she's tiny because he's really tall.
Yes, absolutely. So they're driving somewhere. Was it Seattle? Driving to Seattle because he's a doctor and is gonna do his residency or something
Yeah,
along
something
those
like
lines.
that. But so I'm going to move across the country with you, and you won't even talk about locking down.
Put a ring on it.
Our
If you
dad,
like it,
my
then-
dad told me that when he was in law school, there were all these guys in
Yes.
law school that had all these women that they would like stay with, that would cook for them, clean, and as soon as they got the degrees, they bounced.
Yeah, doctors and lawyers. Never put your boyfriend through medical school or law school.
No
Unless
matter
you got
what,
a
we're
ring on
soulmates. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, Dad told us that story. That's the worst story ever. That's
It
the
was
worst.
the worst. And that was the 60s. I thought things were better back in the day. or
Clearly
something.
not. It's a sad situation. But this movie, so it starts out kind of introducing the teenagers murdering all the adults out on a Sunday where they go to the diner, and the shit goes real quick. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like suddenly and it's everybody in the diner.
Oh, well, part of it, they poisoned them.
Yes.
I'm like, Malachi couldn't stab them all. If it wasn't for the poisoning, you would think somebody could pick up a chair and knock a 15-year-old.
100%.
Because we're not talking about guns. We're
No.
talking about stabbity McStab.
Correct. They all had knives or sickles or farm implements of some sort. But all the adults appeared to be about 75 years old. So that was the other thing. Or it's just like, what the hell? What kind of town is this? So then that's the thing. So, but I think one thing that kind of was confusing to me. So it starts off with the weird, like, little kid narration. Everything changed the day that Malachi came back from the cornfield, or whatever the hell he's saying. But then it goes 3 years later. And nobody is aged. None of all the kids are still 5 years old.
All the kids are still 5 years old. And so weird. And then there's some random little girl who just draws scary things because she's psychic.
Yes. I think they're brother and sister.
Their
right?
brother and sister. There was all kinds of weird things going on. Like when the couple arrives in town, so the children of the dam cleaned up all the blood everywhere, but left stacks of dirty dishes everywhere.
Correct.
All the beds are made in the abandoned houses. Everything's perfectly clean, which doesn't sound like any kid I know.
Well, where do they live? They don't establish, because basically the two nice kids go and play in their house where they grew up and play with the toys and play with the records and stuff. But but that's against the rules.
If they grew up in 1940, because it's all weird vintage stuff. They're playing dress up with like something our grandmother may have had in a mystery trunk.
It was
You're
Nebraska
like,
in 1978. I mean, this is
yeah,
how they
it's
did
not. Yeah, this is Nebraska in 1948. Strangely, things didn't quite make sense. So where are the babies? Are the
Right.
8-year-olds taking care of those?
We never
They're
see those.
reproducing.
Are they pregnant? Was there like a pregnant like corn woman? I don't
And now,
remember.
because I watched the movie and the book at the same time,
You're confusing.
and we find out it's like Logan's Run. Once you reach a
Yes.
certain age, you're sacrificing the cornfield, and they're happy as clams, just like in Midsummer. They're like, ah, happy,
Right.
happy to go, happy to go.
It's the night
And
of
in
your
the book,
19th year. You have to
yes,
walk with he who walks behind the rose. And every time
yeah,
they do it, they're happy to do it. But like, you're going to be killed. It's like, what are you talking? I'm not going to be killed. But every time they do it, you hear the person screaming, ah! What do you think
because
that is?
yeah, the thing who walks behind the rose is like a sandworm,
Right.
or a tremor or whatever. So
Yes.
it's
Except
gonna swallow
when
you
you
up.
see it like electric, like kind of a weird electrical cloud that comes up on Isaac when they're like, we don't have any money to do special effects, so we're just
We just put a filter over the
put a
lens.
filter over, call it
But
even.
in the book, his girlfriend or his lady friend is rubbing her belly as she, hey, have fun.
Okay, because otherwise, eventually
You're
they're
just
gonna run
gonna
out of
all
kids.
die. Yeah.
Right. Eventually, it's the end of the Children of the Corn. Just wait them
Because
out.
wasn't it like the Shakers were one of those sexless cults? I'm like, you're gonna die out
Right.
eventually, unless
They're
so
yes.
they would get like orphans and stuff like that.
Right. That's how you carry on the tradition.
You
That
carry
seems
on the
rough.
tradition since you don't have sex and you don't have children.
That seems kind of a bummer. I don't think I'm joining that cult.
They
I'm
did
out.
make fine furniture though. Yeah, they had a lot of extra energy.
Fine furniture. What else you got?
Oh my god. One of the dudes got killed with a meat slicer. You can't kill people with a meat slicer. You can slice up their hand and they're going to scream, but that's not how you kill people.
Correct. That was an upset when I was a kid and they showed that. Right. It's like the cold cut slicer at the deli
Yeah.
kind of thing. They turn it on like three. Ha! Ha! Yeah, he would
If you
still be
see-
there.
100%. If you see one of those in a movie, someone's hand's going to get sliced off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like your thing with a gun. If you see a gun, the gun's going to get used. See a meat slicer's going to be used, and it ain't for making submarine sandwiches.
Correct. Anton Chekhov's meat slicer. That's what they called it. In theater criticism, that's what they call it. No, we established that the kids never age for some reason.
Right.
Malachi is like the scary one. Everybody's afraid of him. But he's not the oldest, because if he was the oldest, he would have already walked behind the corn rows 3 years ago.
Right.
So
He's
what's the story?
henchman. Every prophet needs a henchman,
Right.
a problem solver.
Because Isaac is young and little, and he's the one who speaks to he walks behind the rows, and Malachi is the big scary redhead that lays down the law, I guess. But then there's internal religious politics, and doesn't end up well for either one of them. Very sad. I'll say this: were there any did you find this movie scary? Let's just say that.
No. I thought Children of the Damned was scarier. Those
Well, because that's
the whole town was in peril.
At the end of the day, these are just a bunch of teenagers.
Yes.
15 and 16-year-olds, sometimes younger. And you're just like, I could probably kick the ass of a 15-year-old if I had
You wouldn't
to.
think so. Or perhaps if you had a gun.
Or just run them over with the car. You already did it once.
Why do they keep not locking their car?
Oh, that was ridiculous. No, there's the scene where it's like the town's obviously like a desolate, apocalyptic place. There's no people, there's no help to be found. And Peter Horton keeps pulling over. He's like, well, I thought I saw something over. Get in the goddamn car. They don't run out of gas. There's a scene literally where they meet old Hobo Joe, and Hobo Joe's like, oh, we're out of gas. He's like, oh, we don't need any gas. Well, then keep driving. What are we doing? This is obviously not the place to be.
There you
Keep
go.
driving.
You tell Hobo Joe, hey, this kid got hit over here and we don't know how to tell, but we're out.
Yeah, roll the old body onto the curb and say, "Here,
Did
Hobo
they
Joe,
leave
you
it in
handle
the
this."
street? Did they roll it into the curb or what? We're
No,
just letting
it's
you know.
It's in the trunk. But that's what I'm saying. At that point, you're like, look, we tried. We did our due diligence. Maybe I'll leave the number of where I'm going to be in a few days, but
Yeah.
I've done what I
This
can.
is too, especially after watching this, it's too freaking creepy. But the weirdest thing is, so he's going to go explore the cornfield, which doesn't seem like a good idea.
No, that's bad.
And meanwhile, she just fell asleep.
Yes.
And had weird Children of the Corn dreams. That doesn't seem like, I feel like you'd be pretty amped up and freaked out. This is a good time for a nap.
Well, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon. What are you doing?
And we just ran over a kid. I'm going to take a little nap.
A little naparoo. Oh, man. I'll say this. One moment that I thought was effective, maybe the only moment that I thought was effective, is when Malachi turns against Isaac and is going to sacrifice Isaac to He Who Walks by in the Rose. There's that moment where you hear the creepy voice go, "Malachi!" And they show, that was a good moment. I was like, I knew it was coming, and it was still a good moment. "He wants you too, Malachi." That was good. That was the one
that
good
was
moment.
good too. That was good too. Because it lets you know, like when Malachi turned against Isaac,
Yes.
he was just along for the ride. He was clearly
Yes.
not a believer. He's just around to feel his psychopathic power.
Right. Right. He's the one people aren't afraid of Isaac.
No.
Because Isaac is little. Malachi's the one they're afraid of.
Right.
And
he's the one who kills everybody. Because he's a ginger and you can't trust them.
You can't trust him. I think we can all agree on that. No, it's funny. There's multiple funny moments where Peter Horton is just like, this is a false religion. Any religion not based upon love is false. It's like, good work. You think you're convincing any of these psychopaths? They've murdered their entire town. But good hustle on you. Good work.
Dude, this is like Midsummer and all this stuff. This is not Jesus or Muhammad or Abraham.
Right.
This is old world. This is
He who walks by in the rose.
It's he. I'm like, do you think the law of Zeus was based on love? No, it was chaos and knucklehead.
The law of Zeus.
Yeah. If you think of the ancient gods, it was not like do unto others. It was like, I'm going to have sex with you, and then my wife is going to turn you into a pillar of salt. Where's the justice there?
Right. What did I do? Leave me out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, Zeus was pretty rapey McRape. So.
100%. It's a Me Too moment.
And you're just a victim, and screw you. So it's more of that kind of ancient.
Correct.
No, that. Oh, it's what was it? The Cabin at the End of the Woods. Same kind of a thing.
Same thing.
Was that based
100%.
on love? No.
In
fact, they found people who were in love and destroyed them.
That's not a happy scene.
That's not a happy scene. What was the weird bloody underwear that Hobo Joe found in his truck?
That was not weird bloody underwear.
I thought it was some kind of rapey, molesty thing. What the hell was that? It looked like a pair of bloody panties.
It looked like that. What it was... is Hobo Joe, who you know is insane because he's trying to change the transmission on some old rusted Hulk.
He got nothing else to do. What else is he going to do? Except give people raw directions.
Correct. That's his whole, like, Isaac decreed that old man Joe is not to be touched because he's supposed to be the adult that people stumble upon. He says, oh, no, you don't want to go this way, go that way. And what happens is his dog, I don't remember, Scraps or whatever the hell the dog's name was barking at the corn. Bark, 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 and then runs into the corn. And the dog had the typical staple when you have like a homeless person, their dog always has a bandana around its neck. It's kind of
Yes,
a thing.
yes.
So that was the dog's bandana. It was the it was
Oh,
established that they'd murdered his dog, and that made Hobo Joe angry. So he goes in there, grabs the tire iron into the barn, and of course is set upon by some 13-year-olds and is quickly killed. So it's a
well,
thing.
he was being punished for telling the Peter Horton and family not to go to Gatlin.
So that's the thing. So we think that they want these people to go to Gatlin to be sacrifices to
Or at least that couple for sure, to cover it
Right.
up.
It's confusing. But that is the final schism between Malachi and Isaac, because Isaac's like,
Right.
no, you weren't supposed to kill him. He had a valuable. And that was the other thing, is that Isaac, for some reason, protected the two little kids, even though he let them play in the house that they weren't supposed
They
to be
were
playing.
special. It was foretold through the whatever. I mean,
The
they can tell
whatever.
the future. So the dude behind the row let him go.
The dude behind the row. Well, what they say was
Wormy McWorm in the corn.
correct.
Cornworm.
They established that all the other kids met with Isaac in the corn rows and all became like corny. But these two little kids, the little boy and the little girl who were brother and sister, were not in the corn that day, and therefore are somehow exempt from whatever. Like they think that it's okay that they're non-believers, or I don't remember what
They're innocent or something.
Something along those lines.
It's not very clear.
It's absolutely not clear.
I would think if you had a kid who was psychic, you might want to keep him.
Well, and that's what Isaac says. Child, you are gifted with sight, or something along those lines.
Right.
Like, cool, whatever.
And we need to talk about crazy Isaac, who
Please.
in reality is 23 years old.
Correct. I think he had progeria. I think that he had
Was that
something
Benjamin
going on.
Button?
He had a little bit of the Benjamin Button, because you're right. He was little, and I think he was really little. I think he was like 5 feet tall or something. He was like
He's
Mickey
5
Rooney.
feet tall.
So he was little, and he had he was older but looked younger. He had some kind of condition. Yeah, in real life, he had a condition that made him that way. So he was older in real life than Malachi, the actor who played Malachi at that time, I believe.
Right.
So that's a thing. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I remember having a visceral reaction to it as a child, was the kind of like the Tremors thing, where he who runs behind the rows or whatever, when he's like clearly underneath the dirt, kind of chasing people. I remember as a child, I was like terrified by that.
Oh my God. The
Right? What do I do?
Are
They're
we
gonna get
on
me through.
Dude? Or is this Beetlejuice?
It's Beetlejuice. Absolutely. No question. And I thought that was kind of a cool effect. I mean, granted, it wasn't anything outlandish, but it was
Right.
kind of effective for what they were going for.
But
So,
he's not really walking behind the rows. He's burrowing under the ground.
they never let you get a good look at him.
I
It's
mean,
either like
it was going to look shitty, so it might as well
Right.
be a sandworm.
correct. It's almost better if Isaac, instead of a weird electrical cloud coming on him, if he's just kind of pulled down into the corn. If you're not going to show us, then don't show us, right? Then don't
Right.
show us anything. And by the end, when Peter Horton and the gang spray gasohol or whatever the hell it is all over the cornfields and light up the corn, there was a lot of just straight up animation, like Bugs
Now
Bunny
the corn's
flames.
alive. There's all kinds of funky things going on.
Correct. It
And
was
that corn went on forever. If you've ever
Yes.
been to the Midwest, it goes on forever. That can't be all their corn. Who
No.
planted that? Who's harvesting that? There
Right.
must be neighbors coming along there. And it
You
was
think?
green. It was green.
yeah. Hard
But
to
you
burn.
can tell that they must have shot this over time, because in other places it would be yellow. But when
Yep.
the final outcome, it was green.
Time has passed. I don't know. Maybe they reharvested
No,
it.
because it was yellow and then it was green again.
That's not how it works. I'm not an
That's
expert in corn.
That's not
That's-
how it works.
That's how you know
And-
when it's good.
Hey, what kind of a deal did they have with the old man that
We
would
won't kill
make
you.
him stay there?
Right?
Well,
He's trying to fix the transmission. He can't go anywhere. He's
He's
screwed.
got to get groceries. He must have a vehicle.
They give him some
right?
corn.
How
and
about
say,
you just
"Have
get
at it."
the F out of there and go get the state police?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. We don't see him having a working car. So it's possible there's just some well water and he drinks and he eats old corn husks. I don't know what the hell
He can have as much corn as he likes.
Yes, that's the deal. That's the deal. No, it makes no GD sense.
At one point, I think Malachi grabs the girl and tells her to yell all she wants and immediately just covers her mouth. That didn't make any sense to me. I thought, no. It was the wife, Linda Hamilton, because you're supposed to draw in the husband.
Oh, Outlander! Outlander!
And then immediately covers her mouth. I thought you
Right.
wanted her to yell to get Peter Horton over there.
Well, and
No
Peter
time.
Horton is down in the bomb shelter with the two little kids, so he doesn't even hear the screams anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, how much food? They still had like a rack of food in there and 3 years
Yes.
of class and the little kids are in there. I mean, what are the kids eating for 3 years?
Just corn. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Well, and
all you,
I
all
guess
you need to get rickets.
well, and that's the thing. I mean, they have to say 3 years later because you want to show the town is all dilapidated and shit, like abandoned.
And it really wasn't.
Right.
The lawns were mowed. There was like vegetation in the street, but
Yeah.
every lawn was mowed.
Yes,
Every house, there was no dilapidation in anything.
that's true.
So are the kids, when they're done making all the beds in the abandoned houses, are then mowing all
They're
the
mowing
streets?
100% and harvesting all the corn and
Yeah. I
There's-
need to see how they're providing for themselves.
But I mean, so they have to say 3 years later, but it's clear that none of the kids have aged.
Right.
Like they had to know making this movie, it makes no sense to say 3 years later and this kid is still 5 years old. Right? This chick is still
One would think.
obviously.
One would think the 5-year-old should be 8 years old, right? No.
Yes. I think
But
they
the
made his hair a
older
little bit
kids-
longer.
I mean, everybody else is aging.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're sacrificing a 19-year-old, so
Yeah.
who
a
was
thing.
the goofiest goober? It was like escaping Amish land or whatever that show is.
He's actually been in other things I've seen, that weird dude. Oh, sweet Jesus. Any other thoughts and feelings about Children of the Corn?
I couldn't figure out what exactly was exploding. I understand you caught the cornfield on fire when you filled it with gasoline. And let
Correct.
me tell you, I've been at a beach party where someone literally poured gasoline into the sand and then tried to light it, like tried to write something. It didn't work. So I don't show how you're filling the fields with gasoline that is then getting absorbed into the ground. Just saying.
Mushroom
and then
cloud.
So the corn is burning, and then there's an explosion.
Correct.
Is that from popcorn or what is
That
the
is-
explosion?
They were spraying it with napalm, evidently. Who's to say?
Exactly. And then where are all the other kids? And what else do I have here?
The kids turn pretty goddamn quick, by the way. The moment Isaac comes back all demonized and kills Malachi, the other kids are like, okay, we're good. So much so that Peter Horton's like, hey, help me with this. And random kid number 5, who's probably murdered 15 people, is like, oh, sure. Where do you need this, sir? Wheelbarrow. You know, I'll find a hose for you. Like suddenly they're all on board. So good
they
times.
see the writing on the wall.
Yep.
They're like the Italians in World War II. They're like,
That's
"What?
100% what I was going to say.
Let's flip this.
Shall we go behind the scenes?
Let's go, brother.
Let's do it. Let's see. On the dashboard of Bert and Vicky's car is a copy of Night Shift, the Stephen King short story collection in which Children of the Corn originally appeared.
Very nice.
And my other question is, Bert, is that a common name these days? I'm not sure.
Random. I don't remember what his name was in the book, but yeah.
Not
so
Bert?
much. Not Bert.
Bert and
not
Ernie?
Norman.
Courtney
Not
Gaines. Right. Courtney Gaines won the role of Malachi by using a prop knife to hold a casting assistant hostage at the audition. That makes sense. He claims that one of the great honors of his career is having hundreds of people, even his son's friends, recognize him as Malachi and confess they found him terrifying. So there you go. Apparently, even his own parents were greatly unnerved by him in this film, which makes sense.
They saw the true sign.
The truth is out.
The truth is out.
When asked by a fan how the effect for the burrowing He Who Walks Behind the Rose was created, special effects coordinator Wayne Beauchamp revealed that it was accomplished thanks to a special device called a turtle, which is a wheelbarrow bucket flipped upside down with added wheels. This device was set in rails in a trench, attached to a pulley system connected to a tractor, and then covered with a tarp with a layer of dirt.
You can see the tarp.
Yeah, you can sometimes. No question. Wah, wah. This spawned more sequels than any other Stephen King film.
Because they know their target audience.
Yep.
High school boys. And you could have nobody, like just random people off the street, write a slasher thing about evil children and put no money into it, and boys will go.
We're into it. No question. John Franklin, who played Isaac, claimed in an interview that years after the film's release, he was at with some friends at a restaurant, and a woman sitting at a next table recognized him and ran screaming from the building.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then came back demanding to have their group move to another table. So there you go. It's true.
He does. It's the eyes. It's the eyes.
Due to the film's low budget, several scenes were left unfilmed or were altered, such as Hobo Joe Mr. Deal originally finding the severed head of his dog under the hood of the truck instead of the bloody underwear.
Bloody underwear.
And a scene that followed up his death where Bert and Vicky go back to the service station only to find it overtaken with corn and Mr. Deal's corpse hidden under the truck, covered with corn. So they had to get rid of that whole subplot. They're like, oh, he's dead.
Why didn't they just capture him and sacrifice him?
Why not?
We should talk about,
please,
before the kids took over the town, the big church service was about the drought and the corn. So what we're missing here is all this sacrifice was to bring the corn back.
But do you think kids would give a damn about that?
Well,
that's the question.
There's the first of all, do you think kids care about religion?
Well, there's that question, of course.
But I mean, isn't that what it is? Before it was drought, and now you're just surrounded by 12-foot high corn everywhere.
It's like the Wicker Man, right? You got to sacrifice some shit.
It is that kind of a genre thing.
No question. The film's budget was originally $1.3 million, but shortly before filming began, Stephen King demanded more money in advance, and they were forced to give King $500,000, thus reducing the budget to a mere $800,000. Years later,
market quality.
Years later, the director Fritz Kirsch thought this was because of King's cocaine addiction.
Possibly.
He needed more money to get a few more bumps, evidently.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Some of his best books, friend. Some of his best books.
The ending to the movie adaptation, as you know, is much more upbeat compared to that of the original story. Yeah. The original story, I think they all die, right?
Yeah. Why not just have that?
That's no fun.
Womp womp. I'm rewatching Bates Motel, and guess what?
What?
Not a happy ending.
Oh, very upsetting. In the short story, He Who Walks Behind the Rose is vaguely described as a large green monster with red eyes. In the script, the monster was supposed to physically appear and attempt to save itself by trying to destroy the irrigation system. However, the script gave no description of the beast, so the art director could come up with a design. So the director decided that since the budget didn't allow for an imposing monster to be created, he was just portrayed as an unearthly force that could affect the corn, the wind, storm, etc.
I mean, honestly, like in Jaws, less is more. It's scarier. It's scarier when you don't actually see the whole thing.
Or in this
just
case,
the
less is
flavor.
less. Right.
Less is less.
Let's talk about the cast, shall we?
Let's go.
Peter Horton played Bert. You know him from such things as he was a producer on the TV series New Amsterdam. You know that one?
I did see an ad for that. I never watched it.
He was a producer on a TV series American Odyssey, at least 2 episodes. Producer on Grey's Anatomy for 56 episodes. How about that? And most famously, he played Gary Shepard in 85 episodes of 30-something.
And most famously, married to Michelle Pfeiffer at one time.
Not currently, though.
No.
Wah, wah. It's a sad, sad situation. Linda Hamilton played Vicky. You know her from such things as Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Terminator Dark Fate in 2019, The Terminator.
Basically, Terminator.
And she was in Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan about a volcano.
That sounds terrible. I did not see that. And she was most famously married to James Cameron.
James Cameron. Not currently, however.
Nope.
She was also on that TV series from the late 80s, Beauty and the Beast, if you remember that thing.
I do. Was that Ron Perlman as the Beast?
Ron Perlman as the Beast. Absolutely.
Love Ron Perlman.
He's great. R.G. Armstrong played Deal, crazy old hobo Joe. He's been in 10 million
1,000 things.
He was General Phillips in Predator. He was Prune Face in Dick Tracy. He was Kevin McDonald in El Dorado in 1966, that John Wayne movie.
Didn't see
and
that.
He was Deal in Children of the Corn in 1984.
Very nice. Very nice.
Let's see. John Franklin played Isaac. You know him from such things as Children of the Corn. Addams Family, he played Cousin It.
I do remember that.
He was also Cousin It in Addams Family Values in 1993.
I love those. Those first 2 Addams Family with Raul Julia.
Yeah.
I mean, I love those.
He was also Isaac in the straight-to-video Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return. You know it, don't you?
Go back, Isaac.
Courtney Gaines played Malachi. You know him from such things as Faster in 2010. He played the role of Twig in The Wrath of Becky in 2023.
Have you watched that with your wife, Becky?
Perhaps I need to. He was 4 episodes of the TV miniseries Texas Rising. And 1 episode of Criminal Minds. This is craziness. These are all random things. I'm going to scroll back here. I'm going to do something. I normally don't do this, but I'm scrolling back to the 80s because this is insane. Things that I remember him in. Children of the Corn was his first movie, by the way.
Yeah, he was fine.
He was all over the place. He was in Secret Admirer in 1985, Back to the Future in 1985.
Who was he in Back to the Future?
A character called Dixon that I'm unfamiliar with.
Okay.
Let's see. Can't Buy Me Love, of course. Can't Buy Me Love, he was the friend of Ronnie Miller, his nerdy friend before he became popular. And the sad moment is that later in the movie, Patrick Dempsey is hanging out with his new asshole buddies, And what they do every Halloween is basically trash poor Kenneth's house. And Patrick Dempsey has to go along with it to stay in good with his friends. So there's a moment where Patrick Dempsey throws a bag of dog shit on the guy's front yard. And Kenneth goes, "You shit on my house, man." Teary-eyed. "You shit on my house." So
Never saw it.
you should see it. It's actually pretty good. Colors playing Whitey.
Colors.
He was the one white gang member. White hair, red, white skin, red hair gang member. It's a thing. And of course, he was Hans Klopek in The Burbs with Tom Hanks in 1989. So he was in quite a few things you may have heard of.
He was big in the 80s, is what
He was
what
big
I'm
in the
hearing.
80s. Robbie Keeger played the little boy Job. We talked about this. We actually just watched a movie with him in it. Do you remember
Yeah,
what it
he
was?
looked really familiar.
He was the secondary lead from the Monster Squad. He was the other little boy. Does that make any difference to you? No.
I don't even remember. I've already
We did it
blacked out
last
on
week.
I already have no memory of it.
Sweet
So
Jesus.
terrible.
He was Patrick in the Monster Squad in 1987. He was Job in Children of the Corn. He was in 35 episodes of Crazy Like a Fox.
that a thing?
And it was a popular TV series in the 80s. And he was in Table for Five in 1983.
All right.
And I think that's about all we need to know about the cast and crew. Let's talk about the ratings, shall we?
Let's go.
Rotten Tomatoes currently has Children of the Corn rated at 39% rotten. Boom. What do you think the audience gave it?
I think it's going to be higher. I'm going to say it's like in the 50%.
40.
And yet it spawned 1,000 sequels.
1,000 sequels. Now, I was looking for top critics under Children of the Corn, and there are no top critics.
What? That seems surprising.
That seems shocking. So my question is, do I read any of these randos?
Pick one rando.
Patrick Kavanaugh from The Wolfman Cometh says, descends into some hokey territory that feels quite a ways off from the original story, but the earlier chunks of the narrative managed to honor the source material and its commentaries on organized religion. 3 out of 5.
Is that what was happening? There was a commentary on organized religion. How organized was this religion? See,
The Children of the Corn religion?
Children of the Corn religion. Yeah.
What is your rating, Malachi?
Malachi gives it a 2.5. Stick some corn in someone's ass out of 5.
It always denigrates into some kind of anal thing.
I
Anywho.
mean, it's not that interesting. The idea is more
right.
interesting than the film.
Well, and it's that thing where characters in horror movies act moronically. That's never a good sign because you quickly
It's
turn
Children
against
of the
them.
Morons. It's Children of the Morons. Let's just
Pretty
change
much.
the title right now.
You find yourself rooting against the protagonists when they do
It's
stupid
like Little
things.
House on the Prairie. Get him, Nellie. Make Laura cry. Cry, Laura.
You rooted for Nellie Olson? That's upsetting.
She's Nellie Olson is my spirit animal.
Now, I always say that I always rooted for the Cobra Kai against Daniel LaRusso in the original Karate Kid because he
they
was
were
so
wimps.
annoying.
Yeah.
He was the worst.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's neither here nor there. I agree. I give it 2.5 out of 5. It's non-offensive, not particularly scary. There are definitely some fractures in logic going on there. There were a couple brief moments that I enjoyed that I found effective, but
honestly, the only thing I really like about it is Isaac. Isaac is effective. The rest of the folks annoy me. Everyone annoys me. But yeah, I am pro Isaac.
You'd follow Isaac, not Malachi.
Oh no, it's much too restrictive. But I think he was effective. Everybody else,
they can all walk behind the rows, as far as I'm concerned.
They can all just open the pit and let's start throwing those babies in.
Just start in the Sarlacc pit. No,
I mean, in this world of sacrificing to the older gods, I'm going up to Sweden and joining the Midsummer crowd. We're just
Not the Wicker people. Not
not the
the
Wicker
bees.
people. I am just going to take the psychedelic mushrooms, and at least you got till you're what, 60 or something. Of course, I would have joined much earlier. Not now. I'm not going to join them.
Now it's too late. It's
Now
a day
it's
late
too
and a
late.
dollar short.
If I was
Womp
a younger
womp.
person, that seems better. If I had a choice of the two, live in luxury and have fun and live in my life until I'm 60, or live in a dusty old cornfield with a bunch of kids and you're dead at 19.
But what about Logan's
Midsummer's
Run?
looking better.
Do a Logan's Run kind of situation where you're not in a dusty cornfield.
No,
But you
because
still
it's
get
30.
zapped.
At least I got 60. Sweden is nice, I guess.
Sweden is nice, I guess. I think that says it all.
And the summer, what is it? The Summer Isles of the Wicker Man? Those people are way too creepy.
Well, it depends. It depends. There's the original Christopher Lee one, which seems like a good time, in all honesty. It's the Nick Cage one where you're just like, this, what the what is happening here? Anywho.
I'd burn Nick Cage too.
Not the bees.
Not the
Anywho. Any last thoughts of Children of the Corn?
Just back to Midsummer. The more I watch it, the more I like it. Just saying.
It's upsetting. All that Ari Aster shit is upsetting to me. So
What was it? We just watched another Ari Aster. What was it?
the only two that I think we've seen is Hereditary and Midsummer. And I'm
God.
good because they're all upsetting.
They're both good.
They're
but-
good.
In the worlds, I would rather live in the Midsummer world than the Hereditary world.
Woo! Sweet Jesus.
Aye.
So, thank you very much. You can find us across social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, Facebook, Blue Sky, whatever that is. You can also watch us on YouTube. You may be watching us at this very moment.
Ooh, maybe.
Maybe. You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you? Aaron, what is your social media situation?
Basically, I'm just going to give you the Instagram. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I have some photography on First Dibs and Artsy under Instant Dreams Gallery. Aaron Doherty. Check it out.
Check it out. Now, we like to include questions and comments from our favorite friends across the interwebs. Let's take a look, shall we?
Shall we?
Let's see. Every Saturday, I like to reach out and say, hey, any movie suggestions? Our friend John Berkey said, how about Possession or The Human Centipede? To
Not
which
the Human Centipede.
I said, Possession, I will add to the list. That's the Isabel Adjani, Sam Neill kind of horrible relationship with a mutant squid in the bed. So we'll think about adding that to the list. Human Centipede, we will never do.
Never.
Never.
No.
Oh, sweet Jesus. And then our buddy Jason Hemming also said, how about Possessor Titania? I don't know how to say it. Titane? Is that how you say it? I don't know. I'll add it to the list. Or
What about
Cat People.
Which
Cat
one?
People from 1982. With
the Malcolm
Natasha
McDowell,
Kinski and Malcolm McDowell. That's the one. So we're going to have to add that one to the list as well. So thank you very much.
What about
Diabolique? Which one? The original or the Sharon Stone classic?
Not the Sharon Stone class.
Although I think Isabella Adjani isn't she in the remake of Diabolique? Maybe I'm wrong.
Sure.
Let's see. Next week, we are doing the horror newish classic. Let's see. Oh,
Wrong turn.
Wrong turn, but there's a couple different wrong turns. This is the one from 2021, which is not the one we want, which is
Right.
here it is, the 2003 wrong turn, which I actually saw. Krish crashes into a carload of other young people, and the group of stranded motorists is soon lost in the woods of West Virginia.
Uh-oh. Country
Take
roads,
me
take me home.
home, country roads. Where they're hunted by 3 cannibalistic mountain men who are grossly disfigured by generations of inbreeding.
Dude, it's Deliverance. Is Burt Reynolds going to show up at the end with his crossbow?
Burt Reynolds. Now, according to this, Aaron, it says the only way to watch is if you buy it from Apple TV. But we're going to take a look and see if we can find it somewhere else or if we're going to choose
YouTube.
something else. We shall see.
YouTube. Yeah.
Again, it's a 2003 wrong
All right.
turn. So we shall see.
I guess I should have looked. Why wouldn't it be available? That's
weird. That's where we'll find it. We'll find it.
It's probably
So-
on the YouTube.
Send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well!
Goodbye, children.